Well, okay, is it working? I can't see you.
I can see white.
That's fun.
Wait,
Oh,
that was
maybe
the
I need
fastest
to.
I've ever gotten on one
Nope.
of these.
Well.
From your camera.
Oh, that's what it is.
There I are. Hi.
Hi.
It was definitely facing the wrong direction, the camera, at first.
It always starts that way. Wait, can you guys see Kara? Because Kara, you're black for me, but this happens sometimes.
Yeah, no,
Nobody can see me?
Nope.
Nope.
Okay,
Oh,
I can see
Your
me, so
camera
that's really
facing the wrong
crazy.
way.
I am the right way, but let me
Okay.
see what I can
Your
do.
phone face down on the table because I wonder if we've got 13 people on already. I wonder if they can see Kara. You guys can see her? Okay, the audience can see you, so maybe
Okay.
Okay.
we're
Cool.
just gonna have to go with, verbal cues on this one.
Maybe it'll pop on in a second. Sometimes it lags.
Okay, everybody's saying they can see you, so that's awesome.
Oh, great.
Hey.
Awesome. We are
Guys.
so excited you guys are here, Lauren and Ben. I feel like you and the three of us have talked so much, but we've never been on a call face to face. This is very exciting.
Yeah, it is. This is really fun.
I know. I feel like, when did we meet? We probably started talking about a year ago at this point because I was querying and harassing Ben for all of his advice, which he gave me so graciously. So yeah, this is awesome. I'm glad you guys could make the time.
It was probably more than a year ago because a year ago is when we were writing our query guides and stuff, and you were reading them, beta reading them for us too. So
yes, and I wanted to talk about that on this live because for anyone who might be querying or thinking about querying and is on this live, I spent over a year learning everything I could about querying, and then I beta read Lauren and Ben's guide, and I was like, wow, this is everything it took me a year to learn, plus a lot of other stuff I didn't know, all summed up in 10 pages, and it's $10. I couldn't believe it. So you should go buy that.
Thank you.
I'm so glad it was useful to you.
Yeah.
Did my face pop up yet? No.
No, it's still not there.
I'm crazy.
But we know
Okay.
you're there. We could feel the love, Kara.
Thank you. Well, Lauren and Ben, do you want to do a quick intro for yourselves?
Sure.
Yeah, you go ahead.
Me? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, I'm Lauren, if you don't know me. I have been working in the book world since 2008 as a librarian, an acquisitions editor at a small publisher, a production editor for HarperCollins, and production editor / production manager at Amazon Publishing. And I now freelance for Big Five publishers, usually copy editing, slugging, proofreading, things like that. But I also have a day job where I work as a production manager for a marketing and editing company that also works with other publishers. So
wow.
Got my fingers in a lot of things.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That's more than I even realized. That's amazing. And Ben?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Ben. I have been in the book publishing industry since 2012, so a little bit after Lauren started in the books world. But I have had a lot of different roles in this business. I've been a publisher's assistant. I've been marketing manager. I spent most of my career as a literary agent, starting off as an assistant agent and then working my way up to becoming a senior agent. I've sold books to every single major publisher in the United States and a lot of small publishers. And many of the books that I represented have gone on to become bestsellers and major award winners, such as the 2025 Prince Award was awarded to a book that I sold to HarperCollins called Brownstone. That was a huge achievement earlier this year for both the author and myself, and it was a phenomenal experience.
Congratulations.
Congrats. That's amazing. Wow.
Yeah. Thank you.
And now we run Books on the Grange here on Instagram. We have our own website. And we co-founded 3030 this year, which is a writing challenge to replace the long-loved and lost NaNoWriMo, but to write 30,000 words in a month instead of 50.
Yes.
Oh my
we also
gosh.
run that challenge 4 times every year instead of just in November.
Yeah.
Which I love. I love that. And we have questions about that we're definitely going to come back to. You guys are such a power couple. This is so amazing. Your bios together is a lifetime in publishing, and we get to talk to you. This is amazing.
Well, I feel like we should also mention, people always ask, we did get married before we were in publishing.
We didn't meet in
okay.
Yeah.
You didn't meet in publishing? It wasn't a younger situation?
Nope.
No. Yeah, we actually
Good
met
to
in
know.
college, and then Lauren had already been working at the library, and I was super interested in getting into the books publishing industry. And I applied to get an internship at a local publisher, and I got the internship, and Lauren was looking at a different internship at the same publisher. And I was like, just go for it. Might as well try. If you want to do it, for it and try to do it. And so she
Nice.
did, and she got it. So we both interned at the same publisher
After we were married.
after we were married.
Oh, I thought this was your meet cute.
No, no.
Okay, good.
No,
Good clarification.
Yeah. So the first time we worked together was 2012.
Yeah, 2012.
And that's rare, I think. Like if I thought about like starting a business with my husband, like I don't know about that. So maybe if we have time at the end, we'll circle back to that. Any tips for couples thinking about working together? Real quick, because I think we have a lot of new faces for us on this live because you guys drew a crowd. Kara, do you want to introduce yourself? Quick, 30 seconds. I'll do the same and then we can get into it.
Awesome. Yeah, and thank you. Sorry you guys can't see me, but I'm glad everybody else can. So again, technology. That's weird. My name is Kara Zone. I am actually a new award-winning author, second place for the Fall Book Fest. Thank you. Dark Fantasy. For my first novel, my debut, Cinders Burn at Midnight, I write a series that is called the Triumph Perfectum series, and they have little side quests because the side characters want that. So that is doing pretty well. I also am an indie publishing consultant. I've been in the indie publishing sphere for about 6 years, and I'm finally starting to get my foot wet in consulting. Thank you, Christine.
Yeah, that's great. I saw Ben nodding at a question that just came up in the comments. You want to answer it real quick before it disappears?
Do your thing, then I'll answer it.
Okay, cool. All right. So I'm Christine Drummond. I spent my whole career in marketing, but have always been a writer and couldn't get away from it. So 2 years ago, I wrote my first book. It's a romantasy. Haven't stopped writing since. I now have a literary agent, and I'm going more down the traditional publishing path. So Kara and I kind of brought this together. Thank you. Actually, I'm my second agent, but that's a different story. Kara and I brought this together because she's got the indie perspective. I'm kind of bringing the trad perspective. But really, it's two sides to the same coin. And so that's really the goal of this writing coffee talk, right? Is to talk about indie trad, what's the same, what's different, how do you make those decisions? And we're going to shine a huge light on that today. So thank you guys for being here.
Yeah. And always, there's enough room at the table for everybody. I think that's like a really, I think that's something else I just want to say because we both agree with that too. So.
Yep. All right, so let's take this question before we lose it. Is it possible to get into the literature industry without a degree? What do you guys think?
It depends on what you mean by without a degree, because if you mean without a degree in English or in literature, then yes, it's possible. I've worked with so many people who did not major in English or books or anything to do with publishing. And yeah, if you don't have a degree at all, I would say it's going to be extremely difficult to break into the industry as a professional, not necessarily as a writer, but as a professional. You can absolutely become a published author without a degree at all.
Yeah, agreed. Totally agreed. And my degrees are in marketing and international business, so I'm a good example of that.
I have a religious studies major in Eastern religions and professional and technical writing bachelor. So it's a weird mashup for sure.
Awesome
actually,
we both did major in English, so that's how we broke into the industry.
My minor was specifically in editing, so like I knew that's what I wanted to do. So I had classes on American usage and etymology and like Chicago Manual of Style was like basically a whole class. So I have had real training in the field that I decided I wanted to go into.
That's awesome. So one of the things that we'd like to talk about real quick, this is our hot take moment, the pros and cons to self-publishing if a book has died on sub.
This could be like an entire 60-minute conversation by itself. 100%. We're going to start off with like the hardest hitting question.
I would say that this is a question that I get a lot. And it's never a bad idea to have a secondary goal for a manuscript. So if your goal is to get traditionally published and you have a secondary goal to publish it on your own if it doesn't publish at a traditional publisher, that's perfectly fine. But what you shouldn't do is just simply say, I'm going to publish this book on my own if it doesn't get published. What you should say is, I'm going to have a plan for how to sell this book on my own if this doesn't sell to a publisher. Because self-publishing is a business. It is not an art. And if you don't understand the business of self-publishing, putting that out there on your own with no experience and no plan is not going to result in any form of success for you, and you're probably going to end up being frustrated with the experience.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess, and to add on that, I think that both things are hard. Christine had said it. It's both sides of the coin, right? Like, you don't do self-publishing first if you're afraid you won't get traditionally published. End of story. Don't do it, because you can and you will. Christine is an example of that. But don't do self-publishing because you think it's going to be easier. It's not. It's just as hard. We cry almost every day, and something changes and something makes mistakes, and it's just hard.
Don't all writers cry every day? I feel like
Yes.
That's like cost of entry, right? It's like, if you
Yes.
cry tonight, okay, good, you're a writer. I would say, because actually, and I think I talked about this on our last live, and then people were like, was that an announcement that you're going to be indie publishing? So I actually had a conversation with my agent last week, and I was like, hey, if this book doesn't sell by January, I think we should put it out to the editors and say 30-day warning, and we're pulling it for self-publishing. And I've been going back and forth basically since we went on sub, right? Being on sub is hard. Getting an agent is hard. Indie publishing is hard. Rejection is hard. I think try to make the decision from not a place of like fear and emotion. Try to make it from like a business perspective, right? Like if you're going into trad because, you just want the validation, that's okay. But also like if you're going to self-publish, you have to have the financial means to do that. It's like starting a business. And so you have to think about these different factors as part of the process, I think.
Yeah, just a question that popped in with costs and everything. Cost is a huge factor with self-publishing because it can cost you nothing if you don't want to do any editorial or production work on the book. But most successful self-published books have been like the authors have put like a $5,000 to $10,000 investment in the production cost of that book, with editorial work from developmental, copy, proof, etc., design work on the interior, formatting, and cover, and those things all cost a lot of money.
And that's to say nothing about the marketing that you have to put up with.
Well, and from my perspective, it is tens of thousands. I have seen and heard people spend $60,000 and be $60,000 in debt. I have had an experience where personally it was $15,000 for myself because of the edits and the cover and everything that went into it. And I purposefully chose this.
You
it was not
think about it like it's like starting a small business, right? Like, and I don't think a lot of writers are like, I'm writing because I want to start a business. Like most of us are writing because we love to write. So that's like an important factor, right? You just need to really do your research and know what you're getting into.
So speaking of that, also, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Ben. Go ahead. Sorry.
No problem. I just was going to say a lot of what we do on Instagram is talk through the math of publishing. And I do think we have a video on self-publishing costs. If you're going to go into it, one of the best things that you can do is just identify a number of how much it's going to cost you, and then work backwards from that number to determine how many units essentially you would need to sell across all formats in order to earn that number back. And if you feel like you can sell that many units, then self-publishing might be an avenue that you should pursue.
But you also might not know what a realistic estimate is if it's your first book. So kind of keeping that in mind, that most indie books, first-time authors are probably going to sell fewer than 100 units if you don't know what you're doing, right? Or if you aren't coming at it with that professional perspective of having a plan, and just literally like telling every single person you know and making multiple social media accounts like to blow it up and make it big. We've seen people do this very successfully, self-published authors who are able to sell tens of thousands of copies and get millions of page reads on Kindle Unlimited, but they are the outliers. So you can't bet on that.
Totally agree. This feeds into our next question really nicely. I just want to add one more thing, which Kara and I were just talking about before we hopped on here, which is that you also might not be able to recoup your financial investment until you've written a few books. And that is right. You're not making a financial investment necessarily if you trad publish, but that's the case no matter which way you go. That once you have a few books out there, people find one, then they read your whole backlist. That's when you really start to see the financial, I think, benefit of publishing. So just something to keep in mind.
Well, and it is, and again, like it is a business, and I do want to jump back into to traditional publishing and stuff like that. But it takes in business, any small business, it usually takes about 3 years to start doing it. So the first year really is about laying your foundation down and building something sustainable. But so how do people know if traditional publishing is right for them? And it says, one of the first questions is like, if you've written a book and you're trying to decide whether indie or trad, what are the things that I should be thinking about to make this decision? And well, we just talked about the pros and cons to each path. Well, we glossed it, but go ahead.
Yeah, and I think that one of the questions was it from Nikki Belgrave? Just like if you had to say one pro and one con to trad publishing, maybe we could boil it down to that since we kind of talked a lot about both paths. Like what would it be? What should people really be focusing on when they're starting to make this decision?
I would say
with
traditional publishing, we kind of hit on this a little bit by talking about self-publishing, but one of the biggest pros of traditional publishing is that you get to focus on just writing.
Well, okay,
your main job is writing the book. If you find a great partner in a publisher who can take on the editorial work, the design work, the marketing and distribution, you don't have to worry about sales. Now, that's something that most authors end up worrying about anyway, but that is the upside of traditional publishing. Publishers have huge networks of distribution channels that they can get your book into pretty much anywhere in the world. And most people don't have those networks, so they can't get their books into, let's say, even a Barnes & Noble, for example. Like the biggest chain, most indie authors can't get their book into Barnes & Noble. So your book can be everywhere, and your publisher can do everything for you. The problem with that is most publishers don't have the manpower to give the same treatment to every single book. And so it ends up being, if you get a traditional publishing deal, a lot of the time your editor has, 50 other projects that they're working on. The sales team has 100 other books that they have to focus on. So it's really them trying to figure out which books in their pool are going to hit in the market. And not every single book on their catalog is going to hit. So your book might not be the one that gets distributed everywhere, or it might not be the one that gets the most attention from the publisher.
Especially, they'll identify a certain number of lead titles that they will allocate every year a certain budget, which normally are going to be the big name authors already, because they know that those are not only going to make back the marketing budget that they put in, but are going to also fund all those other projects that aren't meeting the numbers that they need.
I will say, like, building off of that, like being on the sales side at in my career, I've seen big publishers don't really tend to spend a lot of time trying to sell retailers on the big names. They'll have them in their catalogs and they'll spotlight them, but really a lot of the time the publishers are really trying to make a mark for their new titles, for their up and coming authors, because really they know that the big names are going to sell. They don't need to put a lot of effort behind them in a lot of cases when it comes to sales pitches to distributors.
That's interesting. That's reassuring, actually. I didn't know that.
Well, that
Yeah.
actually, never mind. Go ahead, Christine. That actually kind of leads into the next question, also from Nikki
No,
Belgrade.
go for it, Kara. Go for it.
It's where do you see the publishing industry going in the next 5 years, like traditionally published, and how can they pivot to meet the competition of self-publishers, indies?
Yeah, we're seeing a shift already toward publishers picking up successful indie books and getting the rights to distribution for those books. If you know Gretchen, I'm forgetting her last name right now.
Yeah.
Something like that. Gretchen, she writes the Splintered Kingdom books. The beautiful fairy with purple hair. You've definitely seen it if you're on Instagram.
I'm gonna Google her.
I do. I'm actually reading her book right now, and
the first one's really good. The second one just came out this week, or last week. But point being that she's indie published. She's done it all on her own, and she just recently got a trad deal for Powell Fox. Thank you. She just recently got a trad deal to handle the distribution for all 3 books in the series. The 3rd one is coming next year. And she managed to keep her ebook rights, so she will have full control over all of that. They're also reusing the art that she already had commissioned and has on all of her covers. But if you even look her up, if you don't know who she is the master of character art for marketing, and has been able to just drive sales all on her own, and that makes it a safe bet for a traditional publisher.
Yeah, exactly.
And I recently, within the last week, saw, I think it was Penguin Random House, opened up, maybe it was Simon Schuster, I can't remember, opened up a position for an acquisitions editor specifically for looking for books that are indie published or like on Wattpad or TikTok that are all self-published. That they can acquire rights to. Like this is something that publishers are actively looking for to build their teams to do, is to grab the books that are already successful that they can capitalize on. And I do think we're going to see more of that going forward, because the same thing is happening in the music industry right now, where little independent artists are able to put out their songs on social media, see them blow up and top charts, and then bigger labels are coming in and saying, hey, we can fund you to have the career of your dreams, right?
Well, we talked about this last. Sorry. Oh, go ahead.
No, you're fine.
I was going to say, we talked about this a lot on the last live, that this is another factor to consider when you're thinking about going indie and trad, right? Like, if you do have the resources to put behind a really big indie release and your goal is still at some point to be traditionally published, like that is a path now. There was a really great Substack by Kelly Beck, who's on submission right now with her contemporary romance, and she and her friends did an analysis of publisher marketplace deals over the past year, and I think they saw something like 50% of the deals were indie publishers getting picked up by trad authors. And I can say personally, from being on submission, some of my passes are literally just like, sorry, we're not taking debut authors. So, right, if you were previously self-published, technically you're not a debut author. So that could be that they are looking for authors that who have some sort of track record already for their books.
That doesn't mean that people aren't going to be able to get a first-time deal, like with traditional publishing. It will continue to happen, especially for markets that are seeing like trends of like people are definitely looking for those kinds of books. I think literary fiction, we're going to continue to see trad deals are probably the driving factor, just because they don't have the same push behind them in the indie space, where like romantasy and romance are always going to sell fairly decently in an indie space because those readers are voracious. It's a very different market when you look at other genres.
This is really interesting.
Just from my perspective too, like that is my goal, right? Like I plan on probably next year just taking my, I have bestseller status, I'd have awards, I have a following. It's not huge, it's literally sustainable. I didn't blow up, but I'm growing every single day. So that is where I will eventually reach some kind of precipice, and I will need sort of a bump up onto a new platform. And that's really when I think, I'm even thinking probably next year I'll start trying to see what my options are for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, Ben, what were you going to say?
Just that this is a pretty interesting discussion around social media and traditional publishing, because traditional publishers don't use social media as a sales channel, but indie authors absolutely do. And because indie authors use social media as their sales funnel, publishers can come in and take those books on and know that really their sales potential hasn't been tapped at all, because those indie authors are selling on completely different levels than how they operate, which is through distribution, through the traditional books marketplace, indie bookstores, big chains, even online. So those publishers know that, like Lauren said, it is a very safe bet for them to go to a successful indie author who spends most of their time marketing on social media and say, I can sell an additional 30,000 copies of this book and make $1 million. No problem.
Yeah, and they know that, like, if you're an indie author, you're not going to have your book in Costco. Like, you're not going to have your book in Target or Walmart. And they can tap that and do it as a special edition that will drive readers who may have already purchased the indie published version to buy it again.
Yeah.
And so they can capitalize on the sales twice.
It's easy for them to go to those retail channels and say, this book has already sold 20,000 copies and you don't even have any copies of it in your store. What are you doing? What are you doing? Are you like, right? Why don't you have this in your store yet? So that is a very, very smart business move for publishers that we're seeing. It's not really, not necessarily like for them to compete with the indie space, because they really are like pretty different in terms of like how readers consume. But it is a very smart way that they've found to tap into the growth that the books industry has seen over the last several years.
So
I feel like there was
on top of that, sorry, Christine.
I was just gonna say, I feel like there was an article in, I don't know, it was like the New Yorker or the New York Times last year that was like, does the publishing industry have a gambling problem? It was like a big headline, and it was like, well, actually publishing is like calculated bets, right? Like publishers are placing calculated bets, and it's easier to place a bet on an author who's got a track record of success. Even in my like submissions coaching business, when I'm talking to authors that are trying to query agents, if they're previously self-published, I'm like, where is your data around your sales? How many books have you sold? Like, how many Kindle page reads do you have? All of those things are going to sell an agent because they know they can then better sell you to a publisher. And I think Kara was probably going to tie this into the question from Zoe Kennedy about social. Is that where you were going?
No, I was going to see, because we were talking about the future of traditional. I was just going to go with the next question about traditionally publishing. Okay. How is the trad publishing space responding to AI?
Oh,
good question. I think
is that too loaded? Should we just
no.
talk about it? This is a great question to ask. You had something you wanted to say.
Like in classic corporate fashion, the corporate overlords of all publishing companies are telling their employees to use AI. That right now is looking like making efficiencies or trying to create book blurbs from AI, like generative AI. It's not pretty, and people are angry about it. I think there are a handful of conversations I've seen about books that are AI created that have been big headlines in news conversations, but honestly, the creatives that we work with in this space don't want AI to be part of the writing process, and so there's a big push toward like making sure that it hasn't been used, so that they don't get into legal issues, as a lot of these AI companies are getting sued now by authors because they've stolen their content, or you know, there's maybe no option to copyright anything that's created by AI because it's all been stolen anyway. And so like the publisher's job then becomes making sure that their content is even okay for them to publish. And so there's definitely a wariness of where this is going to go in the future. So they're not actively picking up books that are AI written.
And I mean, most agents and editors that I know in the traditional space have absolutely zero interest in reading anything that has been touched by AI at all.
That is good.
Yeah.
But again, the corporate heads
Yeah.
are trying to push using AI in daily tasks, which just ends up being frustrating and losing money because then they fire people who actually knew what they were doing and they can't really replace those people with AI. So, I mean, that's kind of where all of corporate is right now. That's not a surprise. I think, you know, with the AI bubble, hopefully, in theory,
Sorry,
about
my dog.
that some of that will go away, but that's where we're at right in this moment.
That's shocking. I did not know that, like, big, like, from the top down at, like, big publishing houses that they were actively pushing. So, like, in theory, would, like, a developmental editor use AI to help edit your book? Like, I guess.
Not at a big five, no.
Okay.
But I think where I have seen that conversation has been around indie developmental editors who might be running your stuff through and you don't know, or don't get your permission to do that. And like anything you run through AI is then going to be used to train the AI. And so obviously don't hire an editor who's going to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good question to
You
ask.
can actually put that in your contract. Indies can do that too. Don't use AI with my editing. So that's a good point.
Yeah.
Just because we're low on time, I actually, because Ben was an agent and Lauren, you're in the traditional publishing space. I wanted to talk to Christine and sort of have her experience, like let the viewers know what her experience querying was, kind of just really to draw everything out and then get both of your takes on it too, because I think a lot of people think that once you send out a query, it's going to be the golden ticket, and then you get an agent, and then you get a publisher, and all of this world comes, raining down on you. But that's really, reality is not the same thing.
Oh my gosh. Let me see if I can explain this in a minute or less. So really, really fast, and then Ben and Lauren can react. So I wrote the book in October 2023. By August of 2024, I was ready to start querying. I had my spreadsheet, I had my query letter. I sent out like 20 queries in 2 weeks, which I don't recommend. That was a lot, really fast, but I didn't quite know what I was doing. And I got like 10 rejections. I was like, that's a really high percentage. Something's not right here. So I wound up hiring a submission coach and an editor and spent like 3 months reworking the book, the query package, everything. Went back out on sub in November, and the experience was much better, but still slow. I didn't really start getting full requests until January. I got an R&R, which is a revise and resubmit, which could also be, I actually just finished doing one this week for an editor. It never ends. The editing never ends. But R&Rs can actually be a good thing because they see potential in your writing and in the story, but they might just want to see how open you are to edits, or they might feel like the book really seriously needs some changes before they can consider it. I got a few offers. I went with an agent that I felt like understood my vision for the story. And what I didn't know until I signed with him is that really he only wanted to sub to Big Five and big editors. And it makes sense now in retrospect because an agent needs to get paid, right? And they're not going to get paid as much with a small publisher that doesn't do advances or doesn't have the reach. And so after about 3 months on sub, he was like, there's really nothing else I can do for you with this book. Not even like nudging. And so I decided to go in a different direction. I had a different manuscript in contemporary romance. I wanted to work with an editor that was really passionate about that. She subbed both books for me, and now we're starting to see some traction. We'll see what happens. So it was not like, oh, I got an agent, boom, I'm good. It has been a roller coaster every week for the past 12 months. So I think that's something else aspiring authors need to be prepared for. I'm sure, Ben, you're an author too, Ben. You've been an agent. You've seen like all of this from both sides. So that's my spiel.
Got a question come up that I want to get to, which was I've been seeing somebody said that they've heard that traditional publishers aren't taking on new middle grade authors. And this has a lot to do with querying right now, so I wanted to touch on it. And the answer to that question is yes. Publishers are taking on fewer and fewer middle grade debut authors because the kids book space is a small portion of the publishing industry, and the middle grade space within the kids space is an even smaller portion of that portion. So there are few, and like the spots for new middle grade books are few and far between. So if you're writing a middle grade book, just know that when you query, you are you are painting yourself into a corner, essentially saying that this is your corner that you're trying to stay in, and there's not a lot of room to get outside of that in the publishing industry.
Also, if you got best-selling books in the middle grade space right now, it's like Dog Man. Like graphic novels are king in the middle grade space.
Yeah.
If you're not writing that, it can be even more difficult.
Yeah.
But back to Christine.
Or just querying in general, right? Like this is, I think, actually
Right.
a fairly typical story, right? Like it's a, right? So go ahead.
I mean, like Christine, you mentioned, I'm also a writer, and I have also had 2 different agents as well. And when I got my first agent, I felt like it would be extremely easy to get an agent and get a publisher because I was in the industry. I knew how the industry worked. I'd worked with dozens of editors at that point and had good relationships with a lot of them. And so when we went on submission with my book, I was like, okay, this is probably going to be a sure thing. And it wasn't. And with that specific agent, I worked on 3 different books. We went on submission with 3 different books, and none of them got acquired.
They were also middle grade.
They were all, yes, all middle grade.
Yes.
And we did go to the acquisitions room multiple times, and I had phone calls with editors who were very excited about the projects. And
sorry, if you don't know what an acquisitions room is, that means that an acquiring editor at a publisher really likes the book and has to take it before basically a board of people to justify why they want to buy the book. And if enough people in the room say yes, then they'll get to, but if it doesn't meet that threshold, then they won't be able to buy the book. And then they come back to you very regretfully and say, I'm so sorry, I loved it, but I can't take it because...
Gate. There's so many gates.
Yeah. So I've gotten to that final gate multiple times with just, I really loved it. Everybody, like multiple people on my team loved it, but we can't take it right now. So
It's heartbreaking.
It is. It does not feel good. Once you've got that agent, once you go on submission, even if you've got an editor who loves it, it still has to pass that final hurdle of getting acquired. And I've been in that position like twice now, where books that I had written were almost there and didn't quite make it over. So there are a lot of steps to getting traditionally published.
Yes.
And
you think that the editing is hard now. Wait.
Well, and again, like if you're thinking about, is this the right path for you? Like you also, I mean, we said try to make the decision from like a more functional perspective, but like emotionally, can you handle that? Because it is a lot, right? Like you have to remove yourself personally from the rejection to the extent that you can. You have to like find value and worth in other places outside of writing and what's happening with your book. Not to say indie's easier, but you do have more control, I feel like, with indie, right? Like you're not like waiting for permission again and again and again. So something to think about.
Yeah, you're not waiting for permission, but you are hoping for sales, right? So it's
yeah. Well, I mean, and it's a constant.
Point, honestly.
Sorry.
No,
I'm sorry.
Just gonna talk about that rejection point just a little bit, because the industry revolves so heavily around acceptance and rejection on both sides and with indie. You have to get so many approvals before you can get published on the traditional side. And you have to get so many sales on the indie side before you can start to recoup your costs. So it is an uphill battle on both sides, and it's hard both ways. Choosing between which one really depends on which rejection you are more okay with. Getting rejected from publishers over and over again, or getting rejected by readers. Those are the 2 questions you've got to ask yourself. And it's going to happen no matter which path you take. Even if you're a successful indie author, you're going to get rejected by readers. Even if you're a successful trad author, you're going to get rejected by publishers. And readers. And readers,
yeah.
And you guys have talked about this, I think, on one of your videos or posts a while ago. It's like finding your why, holding on to your why, because that can really carry you through this process.
Mhm.
That's so important, right? And ideally, like a more internal, intrinsic why, not like so I can be a bestseller on the hit the New York Times list. It's like, well,
Right.
you can't control that. So try to pick a why that you can control. Um,
Well, and
yeah.
honestly,
Yeah, I
I
mean,
just didn't want to wait because like you guys said, like it is gate, and I had been wanting to publish for 15 years, and I'm, in my 40s, so I'm like, I'm just not going to wait. Like that was my physical choice. So,
Yeah.
um,
I mean, I'm in the same boat right now. Like I've been trying to traditionally publish books for the last like 15 years.
mhm.
And I feel like it would eventually be worth it for me to self-publish if a traditional publisher doesn't pick up any of my books ever. Um, and I think
And you have so many books. You would have like a huge list.
Mhm.
Well, we want to read your stuff, Ben, and we want to read it to our kids. So
thank you.
I'm really excited about the one he's working on now, so I'm hoping someday.
So
Yeah.
one of the actual steps in querying and getting an agent and going to traditional publishing is being on sub. And Grace P. Rose asks, is there anything I can do as a writer while on sub besides write something else? I feels helpless and I wish I could work harder, but I don't know how.
Yeah.
That is the best thing you can do, is write something else while you are on sub. Honestly, like there are a couple of things that you can do to help yourself. Like if you haven't started a newsletter, start your newsletter. If you haven't started social media, start your social media. Obviously, those things aren't required because publishers should be able to sell your books to their distribution channel without you needing to rely on your own networks. But if it doesn't work out with those publishers and you've spent all that time building up a network of readers, maybe after you decide that you don't want to deal with rejection anymore, you've got a big enough following that you can say, I'll self-publish this and I'll sell 1,000 copies and that'll be enough for me.
Very cool.
yeah.
So yeah, if you don't want to write something else, which I highly advocate that you do, spend time building your brand, building your business.
That's a great alternative. I love that. People don't talk enough about that. So that's awesome. All right, we only have like a few minutes left with you guys. I want to be mindful of your time. Can we do really quick, like rapid fire questions from the viewers in the chat and then we'll wrap it up? Okay.
Go for it.
All right. So the first one, someone asked, Ben, are you still working as an agent and can you be queried?
This is very tricky. I am not open to queries. I do a small amount of consulting work for the agency that I used to work for the clients of mine who are still at that agency. So every once in a while, a client will get a new deal. I will negotiate that deal for them with the publisher. And that's pretty much it. So not open to queries, sorry.
But there are hundreds and hundreds of agents who are on Query Tracker, so you can hop over there.
If you would like help writing your query letter.
And Christine is not affiliated with them.
Just one, but that's okay. Ben can help you write your query letter. Highly recommend that. Next question. Can you get a traditional publishing deal without a huge social media following?
Yeah.
Yes. I would say it's often easier if you have a big social media following because that's something you can point to when you're querying or when you're marketing. What is the word? Selling to publishers.
Yeah, I touched on this briefly earlier. Publishers know that they don't sell well through social media, and they know that if you have a strong social media presence, you can generate sales that they can tell retailers are being generated. So if you've got the capability of driving 2,000 pre-orders for your book through social media, a publisher can then go to the retailers and say, this book has 2,000 pre-orders that the author has driven themselves. So go buy this book, put it in your stores, people want it, right?
Yep. And quick follow-up, what would you define as like a big following that's actually going to like grab the attention of a publisher? Is there a threshold?
It's probably been different for every publisher. And also, not all followings are created equal. If you have 100,000 followers because you post memes, like that's not going to translate to book sales and won't really matter.
Right. It all depends on the engagement that you have around your community and in your following. I mean, like this comment says, 10,000 followers or higher could be the right number. That might be something that publishers look at and say, excellent, this person has 10,000 followers, they get thousands of video views and hundreds of likes on all of their stuff. Of course, this looks like a great person that we want to work with. Alternatively, like Lauren said, you could have 100,000 followers and post videos every day that have nothing to do with what you're working on, and will result in like 5 sales. So
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing too, like when it's that big of an audience, you have to be selling to the audience. And I think a lot of people don't think about that in the social media sphere. Like I have my audience curated for my genre. I have 4,800 people, right? Like those are all people that are very specific. They know me, they do, know what I'm doing and everything like that. So 100,000 followers and only posting memes, if you're going to start switching over to self-publishing and talking about your, marketing and everything like that, it's not necessarily, it won't translate to everybody. So it really is sort of like a funneled kind of thing.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. One thing I wanted to say that I forgot to mention earlier is I think with publishers too, like the most important thing that a lot of them are looking for, and agents as well, is just that you're willing to market yourself in like a professional, compelling way. So like if you're not sure where to start, that's where I would start. I'll never forget my first call I ever had with an agent. He was like, you're acting like a best-selling author, even though you're not one yet. And that's something I can take to a publisher and talk about. So that if you don't know where to start, like that's a great place to start and then build from there. Last question we want to close on. If you wanted folks on the live to know one thing about your 30K in 30 days writing challenge that you guys have just launched and already have gotten like people to write over 6 million words or something like that in November. What do you want them to know and where can they find you guys?
Thank you. Yes, 3030 is a new writing challenge. It's a global, we have thousands of writers from all over the world who are working on their novels. And it is, like Lauren said at the beginning of this live, it is, we built it because NaNoWriMo died. And NaNoWriMo, National Novel Writing Month, was a goal to write 50 words in November. 3030 is a little different. We are challenging people to write 30,000 words in 30 days. And that is in the month of November, but also in February, in May, and in August, and November again of next year. We hold it 4 times a year. And the goal is, if you do the challenge 4 times every year, you will end up, if you complete every challenge at minimum, you'll have 120,000 words every single year, which is more than enough for most people to complete an entire novel. So yes, it is awesome. Thank you, Zoe. That is what it is.
It's awesome. It is awesome.
3030k.com, 30 THIRTY 30k.com. We're also on Instagram, 3030 Writing Challenge. But of course, you can find us at Books on the Grange. And we've got
and I can attest, I'm signed up and participating, although I fell off this past week with my R&R, but the platform itself, the website is beautiful. If you like metrics, like it tracks your progress against a little like line chart to show where you are. You can talk to people, you can cheer them on. It's such a positive experience. Thank you guys for creating it. It's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a joy to build. We're a small team. I've designed the whole website and put it all together with my brother, who is a web developer and software engineer. And he's doing all of the front end coding. I'm doing all of the UX design work. My sister's a graphic designer. She's put all of our logos and graphics together for us. And
I'm just the social media.
Lauren is our social media.
I mean, that's a full-time job for like 3 people. So it's really not just the social media. It's like that's a lot. Plus, you have all your finger in so many other things too. So you're definitely.
And your parents. You guys are doing it all.
Oh my God, your parents too? Holy crap!
Kids,
Oh my gosh, that's incredible.
On that note, we are going to let you guys go. Thank you so much for taking the time. I know everyone on this live really appreciated hearing from you. This will get posted on everyone's feed, so you can come back, rewatch. We'll clip it, share it. But thank you guys. This has been amazing.
Yeah, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
All right. Happy Friday, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.